find yourself disgruntled when unexpected relations or friends show up at your door, barge through your garden gate, and make their way into your hobbit hole, and all of a sudden you have to entertain? Actually, I think that is quite rude of them. But if you're anything like me, even when that happens, even when it's an unexpected guest who arrives, you still want to make a good impression. And what could make a better impression than fancy food? What food is fancy? That would be the French, to quote Jack Sparrow. Sorry, wrong fandom. But I promised you when I made that episode about the Bilbo's 111th special occasion cake, or just the Hobbit special occasion cake, that I would show you what to do with those 6 extra egg yolks. Well, that was in the spring. Here I am in the autumn. Hopefully you haven't kept egg yolks in your fridge for that long, because if you have, you need to get rid of them. Like, for real, you need to get rid of them. They're yucky. They're yucky now. They're not safe to eat. But if you find yourself making that cake, or making another such scrumptious, tasty dessert that only requires egg whites, and you have all these egg yolks sitting around, then might I entice you to try your hobbity hand at making creme brulee. I apologize to the French. I don't speak French. I probably just butchered that pronunciation that I attempted to make authentic. Creme brulee, to me, is very fancy. It's something I've ordered a handful of times at restaurants, and I just love the sweet custard layer and the way that it pairs so perfectly with the crystallized, sometimes burnt sugar on top. It's just such a delicious combination. There are different flavors you can play around with, but for this attempt, let's just look at how to make plain, simple creme brulee using everyday ingredients. To make creme brulee, you really only need sugar, eggs, heavy cream, and vanilla. There they are, the famous 6 eggs. So you'll need half a cup of granulated sugar, 6 egg yolks, some 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 2 cups of heavy cream. I would like to take a moment to thank my cousin Gimli, because he also helped film a lot of this episode. So here I am just measuring out the heavy cream, and apparently it had been sitting in the fridge or the Hobbit cold larder for a while. You can see some chunks there. It was not rotten, so I decided it's just going to be extra thick and creamy. So I used a spatula and got out the chunks, and then later stirred it a lot to try to smooth them out. And since I didn't have quite enough, I just made up the difference with half and half. And you know what? It still turned out absolutely fine. It's not like when we made the second breakfast blackberry cake and had moldy cream going into it. I think it was moldy buttermilk. But yeah, I just smoothed out the chunks and we were good to go. Next, you add the vanilla. Recipes give varying amounts, but I added 2 teaspoons. That's like my little secret when it comes to baking, is I always add a little extra vanilla. So even though it said like 1.5, I did closer to 2. And I just feel like it really bumps up the flavor and the richness of a baked good, or in this case, a custard. And yeah, so mix it all in, and then it's time to add the half cup of sugar to the egg yolks and use a whisk to break up the egg yolks and combine it all. You want it to be as even as possible, so as well incorporated, and oh wow, look at how much the color just lightened on it. You want it to be as smooth as possible. Now on the stovetop, you turn the heat on about medium. My stove tends to run really hot, so I often have to put it lower. And you can see that it's starting to steam.
and you want to be really careful once it gets to that point because you do not want to scald it. So it's okay if it's steaming a little bit, but you definitely don't want it smoking. This is one of the trickier parts of the recipe, same as with any homemade pudding or custard. When you go to combine the egg yolks or the eggs in general with the heated cream or milk, you need to be really careful because, as you can imagine, adding egg to a hot liquid has the potential to cook the eggs. I've heard a rumor that in Oatbarton there are folk who eat sweetened scrambled eggs. I appreciate that they enjoy that. I personally don't enjoy that. So if you're watching from Oatbarton, then more power to you. But I tend to temper my eggs by doing this really slow trickle and whisking the heck out of it to make sure I don't scramble any of them. Another way to do this is to take about a half a cup of the hot mixture and put it in with the eggs and whisk, and then return all the eggs to the pan because you're just slowly bringing up the temperature of the egg mixture then. So you can really slowly cook it and avoid that risk of scrambling. But again, if you're from Oatbarton, you might actually want to just dump the whole bowl in because you might want your creme brulee to have chunky, sweet eggs in the middle. But just to be clear, that's not a traditional creme brulee. So if your relatives barging in at the door are from Oatbarton, that may be the way to impress them. If they're not, then continue to follow the recipe as I share it. So here you can see it's just very evenly mixed in, which is great. But for those of us not from Oatbarton who want it to be silky and smooth, you do this extra step. You pour the mixture through a fine sieve or strainer. And this is to take out any solids, because sometimes, milk and cream can form a little skin or, oh, there's Pappy Hobbit in the background. Sometimes they can form a little layer on the top. You can actually see some of the solids in this footage right there. So, again, apologies to you folks watching from Oatbarton. This is probably sacrilegious to you, but to those of us who don't live in Oatbarton, this is the done thing when you're making any sort of custard and you want it to be silky and creamy. So, it does take a little bit of extra time, but it makes a tremendous difference in the end product. So, I highly recommend not skipping this step. These little dishes, sometimes they're called custard dishes, they're also called ramekins. They are oven safe, so if you have other oven safe cookware, you could probably use that. I've got an odd assortment of sizes here because this was an impromptu recipe, as you'll know, from having watched the episode about the Hobbit special occasion cake. But I'm actually thinking of getting a proper set of ramekins to make this dish again the next time there are relatives hanging on the door. But the idea is to just have something thick, something ceramic, that will evenly cook the custard while not being damaged at all from the high heat in the oven. So you fill your little ramekins or your custard dishes. I want to say you might be able to use mugs, but don't quote me on that. I don't want to be blamed for half the mugs in the Shire being shattered. But if somehow I am to blame for that, just remember, you can make so many mathams out of those shattered mugs. So it may end up being a good thing. Like if you experiment and your mug gets broken, yeah, your custard will be gross and all over the place, but you may be able to make a really cool matham out of it. There they are. They look so cute. As you can see, that first one didn't have too much in it, but it still cooked well. I was worried about that given their different volumes. So then you add some boiling hot water. You want to fill it up to be about half the size of the ramekins. This water bath is going to do two things. Not only will it help the cooking process, but it will also produce steam that will get trapped inside of Smaug's mouth, also known as the oven, and that helps them cook. I'm sorry, I don't know much more about it other than that. I don't know the magic science behind how it helps them, the steam helps them cook, but it just makes them turn out really, really nice. Have your hot water up about halfway or at least 1/3 of the way around the ramekins. You really, really, really carefully, as I'm doing here, place it in the oven because there's all kinds of dangers. You could get burnt by the hot water sloshing out. You could get burnt by the pan being hot. You also don't want any of the water to go into the creme brulee. There. Did it safely. Now with the oven or Smaug's mouth set to 325 Fahrenheit or 163 degrees Celsius, you bake it or cook it for 30 to 45 minutes. You're waiting until the edges are set and the center is slightly jiggly. I can't recall if it took more than 30 minutes for me, but as you can see from me moving them there, the edges are set, the center is jiggly. So I decided they were done and pulled them out. I can't get over how beautiful they look. It's just such a gorgeous sunshiny yellow, and they smelled really good. It's a subtle aroma, a subtle kind of buttery sweet aroma. Probably what those Oat Barton folks are going for with their scrambled sweetened eggs. You then need to use tongs or something of that nature to carefully remove them from the hot water, because if you keep them in the hot water, they'll continue to cook. And at this point, they're as cooked as we want. We don't want the custard to become tough or leathery, again, unless you're from Oat Barton. And we actually want the custard to cool. I don't know who this we is. If you're making it, you want the custard to start to cool. So to aid this, you actually put it in the refrigerator. And it can go into the refrigerator for quite a bit of time if you need to. If you're, planning ahead, you can put it in overnight. But if not, at least for 3 hours. So here they are completely cooled after hanging out in the, I don't know, what is the refrigerator? The northern wastes? The withered heath? I don't know. Something far north. And you could just eat them like this. I think they'd be a really delightful little custard. But what really makes them creme brulee is adding a teaspoon or 2 of sugar on the top and then torching it with Smaug. I didn't read properly, so as you can see, I'm putting a whole tablespoon on top of each one. I'm not sure, that probably affected the results that you'll see next. I can't say that I'm complaining though. It made for probably a thicker, cracklier, crunchier crust. And again, I'm just not complaining. I'm gonna make this recipe again and try it with less sugar on top, but you kind of can't go wrong. Oh boy, yeah, I'm putting on even more. Wow, I am a menace to society. I think I thought you put on 2 tablespoons and the recipe actually said 2 teaspoons. And I was just trying to evenly coat the surface. At this point, if you have a small kitchen torch or some sort of culinary heating implement, this is when you would use it. We didn't have that, so my brother, who's known in this show as Sam, got a little mini propane tank and attached it to a torch that I think he uses for like construction projects, and we tried our hand at that. And so I don't know what it was supposed to look like. We were very hesitant to keep we were very hesitant to keep going, but we did. And as you'll see, some of ours turned out a little blackened. And I don't know if that's because we were using too much heat or if I put on just way too much sugar. But either way, it still tasted good.
I think that's... How was you supposed to do it?
Let me turn on the exhaust fan. Okay, we took off some of the sugar. See if this one goes a little better. Yeah, that's going better. It was definitely too much sugar.
Say when.
I don't know. I guess.
There's still a bunch of crystals underneath.
It's okay. And another method you can use is the broiler in the oven, but you just have to very carefully watch it because this sugar will go from caramelized to burnt very fast. And if you're doing it in the oven, it can be just as risky. So the timing really is everything here. It's taking a long time, yeah.
Patience, right?
Okay, so slower is key.
I don't know. It seems like.
So, as you can see, it wasn't too thick. Like, I could still crack the tops. So, once you're ready to eat, you just crack some of that sugar layer on the top and you dig in. And, oh, I'm getting hungry just watching this footage again. It was delicious. Even Mischief agrees. She would eat all of it if she could.
I do want to point out that although this process probably looks like a lot of steps and looks very complicated, I was absolutely shocked that they turned out great because I was making this creme brulee in tandem with the special occasion cake, so I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. I now hope that you feel confident to try this fancy recipe yourself, and even if it's not on an occasion that that came up because of nosy neighbors or bustling relations burgling their way into your home. I was going for some alliteration there. Halfway did it. Perhaps you could be planning a festive Hobbit get-together and you want to show off your skills in the kitchen and do something a little fancy. Then I really encourage you to try this because I was amazed that I could do it. I was also amazed that I could make the special occasion cake. I'm still like on that high, even though that was May and this is October. I'm still really proud that I did that. So if you want to feel as accomplished and as much of a happy Hobbit as I am because of your expanding culinary skills, then please try this recipe and let us know how it went. Feel free to reach out by leaving a comment below or find us on social media. All the links are in the video description, and send us your pictures. Tell us any tips and tricks you may know because I'm brand new to this and many of you probably aren't. Thank you so very much for watching. Thank you so much for your patience with me this year as content has just very sluggishly trickled out as I've continued to heal from my own medical issues this year, and I just so appreciate your support. And just a reminder, your support here on YouTube is so welcomed, as it is on social media, but you can also go to my Patreon. Again, there's a link in the bio, maybe on the screen somewhere, because I do have a tier specifically for those of us who like the cozy Hobbit lifestyle, living in friendship with the earth. It's called Hearthling, and every month you get recipes, crafts, gardening tips, Hobbit lifestyle advice, halfling lifestyle advice. There's a trademark issue there. and more. So even if you don't have the funds to support me that way, because that does help me make these videos for you, know that you can sign up for free, and I occasionally do put out freebies because I just have so much fun sharing like cute, cozy crafts. Because I remember being a kid in the 90s and how magical it was to do crafts in the library and stuff. And I think even us grown-ups need much more of that in our lives. And as everything becomes so increasingly digital, I'm having fun. I create almost all the content in a digital format, but also a cozy, printer-friendly format, because sometimes you need a break from the screen. So anyway, if that's enticed you at all, please go check it out and see if it's something you're interested in. And yeah, I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing and following and all that stuff, because it really does help, and the more support we have, the easier it is for me to make these videos. Right? I don't know. I say this at the end of every video. I'm not made for this. Oh no, did I lose my leaf? Is this my leaf? No. Oh, the oak tree fluttered a leaf down on me like it was a present, and it sat on my leg, and now I can't tell it apart from all the other oak leaves. I'm not a happy hobbit. But I am when I think about eating creme brulee.
Top secret footage. The cakes still haven't been finished. They're in the oven still, huh? I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry, boss.
Welcome to this episode of Happy Hobbit. Do you find yourself stuck? Why are you stuck? Do you find yourself... I need to find another recipe of what to do with all the egg whites in case I just want to make the creme brulee. I guess I could just cook them and eat them. It's kind of boring. Meringue? Meringue's the only thing that really comes to mind. So now I'm just always going to have to make creme brulee and meringue. Not a bad combination. I might have to try that.